You're looking for a lift that won't just sit in the corner gathering dust, but actually lets you get cars in and out of the garage without a headache, something sturdy enough to handle a truck, simple enough that you don't spend the whole weekend figuring it out, and priced so you feel the money is really earned. That's the exact dilemma most folks face when they start hunting for a four-post car lift. The specs read like a brag sheet, but the real question is whether it lives up to daily life in a cramped garage or a busy shop. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started digging into the MutsMover 11,000 pounds four-post lift, the first thing I noticed was how often the conversation in forums circles around two practical concerns: capacity and clearance. You can't just buy a lift that says 11,000 pounds and assume it will handle a full-size pickup with a loaded bed. The lift's advertised max height of 84 inches is actually a solid win for anyone with a tall SUV or a low-slung performance car that needs a little breathing room for wheel clearance and for working under the chassis. That extra vertical space translates to less fiddling with wheel chocks and more confidence that you won't accidentally scrape the top of the vehicle when you raise it. The heavy-duty claim isn't just marketing fluff. The frame is built from Q345 steel, a grade that's common in industrial equipment for its strength-to-weight ratio. It's powder-coated, which means the finish won't chip off after a few seasons of garage humidity or the occasional splash of coolant. In real-world terms, you're less likely to see rust spots spreading under the lift, and that's a cost saver because you won't be constantly fighting corrosion when you lift a vehicle for routine maintenance. Now let's talk about the hydraulic side. A 3.0 HP motor running on a standard 110V line is more power than you'd find on most residential lifts, and that power shows up when you press the control pad. The lift raises a loaded 11,000 pounds truck in a smooth, almost silent motion, no jerky starts that make you wonder if the cylinders are about to fail. For a weekend DIYer who wants to change oil on a diesel truck or a shop owner rotating cars for a service bay, that reliability is worth the extra wattage draw. The downside? That motor does need a dedicated circuit to avoid tripping breakers, especially if you already have a lot of tools on the same line. If your home's electrical panel is already maxed out, you'll have to budget for a modest upgrade. Safety is where many lifts stumble, but MutsMover has installed 4 mechanical locking devices that engage automatically when the platform reaches its set height. I've seen cheap lifts where you have to remember to pull a pin each time one misstep and you're staring at a dropped car. Here the locks act as a hard stop, giving you that it's really locked in feel before you crawl underneath. That peace of mind is especially important if you're working on a vehicle with a high center of gravity, like a lifted Jeep. You don't want the platform wobbling when you're tightening bolts on the suspension. Installation is the part where the experience diverges from the glossy product page. The lift arrives on a pallet that needs a forklift or a small tractor to unload, nothing you'd expect to handle in a typical residential garage. The manual does a decent job of walking you through the assembly, and the included accessories to drip trays and a jack tray make it easier to keep fluids from spilling onto the floor. But if you're the sort of DIYer who never lifts a pallet before, you'll either need to rent a forklift or call in a local mover. That extra step adds time and possibly cost before the lift is even operational. So, who should actually consider putting this beast in their space? First, anyone who owns more than one vehicle and is constantly battling for floor space will see immediate value. Classic car collectors who need to rotate vehicles for preservation, small auto shops that want a reliable way to bring a truck up for brake work, and hobbyists with a mix of a daily driver and a weekend project car all fit the bill. The lift's wide footprint and tall clearance mean you can park a full-size pickup, a large SUV, or even a light commercial van on it without worrying about overhang. If you're already paying for a dedicated workbench or a second garage to store a vehicle, this lift can effectively turn one space into two. On the flip side, if you have a single compact car and you're just looking for a way to change the oil once a year, this might be overkill. The lift takes up a significant chunk of floor area, roughly the size of a small bedroom, so renters or people with a modest one-car garage will find it hard to fit. The